Hello everyone, my name is Jayavarthanavelu and I am here to discuss few important things with all of you with respect to the UG CLAT examination and its new pattern. Before we get into it, let me tell you the difference between the old pattern and the new pattern. The earlier pattern for the CLAT UG examination consisted of principle-based questions, legal knowledge questions and assertion and reasons in its legal reasoning section. Whereas, if now we look at the new pattern, it is not the same anymore. We'll discuss what is the pattern and the format of the new legal reasoning section in a while. But before we dig deeper, we get there. We'll first try and understand what is the overall pattern of this examination. What are the similarities in it as it was in the earlier pattern itself. So the whole examination, the entire paper consists of 5 sections. It is divided into 5 sections. The section remains to be the same. First is your GK, second is your legal reasoning, third is logical reasoning, quantitative aptitude and English. So the sections are same. The marking system of this particular examination also remains to be the same, whereas the number of questions which were earlier 200 have been brought down to 150 questions. But one good part is that even if the number have been decreased, there are a lot of changes. The total time that you would be expected to solve the entire paper remains to be the same, which brings us to solving maximum 150 questions in a total span of 120 minutes, which is 2 hours. So that's one good thing. But that doesn't mean that we can just solve all the questions in our own time. There's definitely a catch over here. And the catch is that earlier when we had a principle-based question or we had legal knowledge questions, now whereas we have passage-based questions in our legal reasoning section. So we are not expected to stick to the principle, apply the principle to the given set of facts and choose the appropriate option, but whereas we would be expected to read the entire passage and then answer the questions given below it. Right, every correct answer of this particular of these 150 questions would carry 1 mark, whereas every wrong or incorrect response would cost you a negative mark of 0.25. So you have to be very careful, you have to be very cautious whenever you are going to put in your responses or whenever you're going to mark a particular question. That's about your overall pattern of CLAT examination. Now, what does the examination seeks from you? What does it seek from you? What does it want to evaluate all of you on? So it does not want to evaluate you or any candidate for how good are you at your legal knowledge or how well versed are you with the existing laws. That's not what they're looking for. You're not expected to know the laws. You are not expected to be equipped with any prior legal knowledge, but they're going to assess you on how good are you at your aptitude, how good are you at comprehending a particular given content, and how well can you understand that content and mark your answers. So one good thing is there is no prior legal knowledge required. You're not supposed to be equipped, you're not supposed to be filled with any laws or any principles or any theories with related to the existent laws. All you are supposed to have are the 3 R's, that is, one is your reading ability, a good reading speed, and also good reading comprehensive skill. So all instead of going through all the legal provisions or provisos or just nagging up or mugging up all the laws that are there, you all are just supposed to improve your speed and develop a good ability to comprehend a particular given content, right? Now looking acutely to the legal reasoning section, your legal reasoning section would be consisting of passages which would sum up to 25% of the total number of questions. So let's say if there are 150 questions in total, 25% of it would bring you to 32 to 36 questions in total in your legal reasoning section, which are going to be definitely based on the passages that are given there. So approximately I am expecting 4 to 6 passages in that particular section. Each passage would be consisting of 400 to 450 words. Every passage will consist of 4 or 5 questions below it. Now, what are these questions going to be based on? Now we'll discuss about what the passages are going to be based on, how would they look like, what content would they be carrying, or what content would be there in those passages. Before that, now it's going to be slightly similar to what it used to be earlier, not exactly the same, but earlier you were given the principles there, they were just given there directly, you did not have to find out any principle, whereas now the new legal reasoning section, when I've already mentioned these passages would have a content which will have certain principles hidden in them, right? So now there's another question, how will we identify it, or how will we understand them? That is where you would require your comprehending ability, your or understanding a particular content. With practice you would definitely develop that thing wherein you will be able to infer the principle that is hidden in the passage. I'll repeat myself, you only have to infer the hidden principle. There's a huge difference between inferring a particular thing and interpreting a particular thing, and you all are not supposed to interpret anything, because whenever you try to interpret, there can be so many interpretations of a particular thing, which is why you all are only supposed to identify the principle, you all are only supposed to infer the principle that is given in there and keep it in your mind. Now why are you supposed to do this? Because the questions given below it would be in the shape of factual situations, in the shape of factual scenarios, and these would definitely be related to those principles which are there in the passage. So first thing, the legal reasoning section now would consist of passages. Each passage, I'll repeat myself, each passage would be of 400 to 450 words, and there would be certain principles given or hidden in these passages which you all are supposed to infer. Now once you've inferred that principle, once you've identified that principle, you have to understand through that principle what is the author or what is the content trying to explain to you, and apply the same thing to the given set of facts or the factual situation which are there in the shape of questions below. Right? Now while you're reading it, one more thing which you all are already acquainted to, some of you may be, some of you may not be. So all you have to do is to stick to you have to stick to the principle, you also have to stick to the passage. Many a times it may happen so that whatever is given in the passage, you might be already aware about it. That's a very good thing to be aware of some content, but there's a small shortcoming behind it also, that we tend to skim through the passage, we tend to overlook through the passage, which is good for certain things where the content, you are very sure about the content, but if you do not, we don't know what the exact content is in there, which is why skimming through the passage or overlooking through the passage might not be beneficial all the time, right? Which is why we need a good reading speed wherein we can read fast and we can also comprehend simultaneously, because we can just blindly read something without understanding, but it is very necessary for us to understand and develop a practice where we can read fast as well as we can comprehend fast, right? Now once you've comprehended, once you've understood what the content is, you simply have to stick to the content that is given in the passage and not to the facts related to the content which are outside the passage, right? If we do that, we tend to go wrong in marking the responses. Why? Because in those questions, those factual scenarios, those factual situations which are going to be there in a shape of question below the passage would be carrying 4 options below it. Those are the 4 options which are your marks, which are your answers, which are your responses. Now many a times it would also it may also happen that all the 4 options are closely related, right? They all may be correct, but they may not be. Only one out of the 4 options is going to be an appropriate answer, which is why you need to choose the answer which is close or which is appropriate to the given set of content over there. which is why repeatedly it is said that you have to stick to the content, because the other three options may be correct, but based on those facts which are not mentioned in the content, right? Which is why sticking to the passage is equally important to how you have to read fast and comprehend better. So now this is about the question. Now what would be the passages based on? The passages would be based on mostly the current legal affairs, the current legal matters, or maybe the public policies or some moral content which is going around. So basically your GK, maybe current affairs, would definitely help you to understand the passage, would definitely help you to be generally aware about the content of the passages that is going to be there in your legal reasoning section. Now, again, even if you are aware about the passage, I am emphasizing on this point that even if we are aware about the content, we shall not presume, you are not expected to presume that what you know is exactly present in that particular content, right? Which is why you just have to be aware, but not to apply your knowledge or your awareness of that particular content to the passage. Now, the rules and the principles that are given in the passage are only to be understood to the extent of answering the question and not to the extent of applying the outer knowledge. Now, and with respect to the practice, with respect to understanding the format, this is it. But how do we be well aware, how do we be well equipped with the content, is there are so many sources, there are so many places where you can read all these content from, where you can be aware about this content. So the first content, especially one of the most important content, are your newspapers. There are so many articles, there are so many suggestions, there are so many opinions that are already expressed in these newspapers. For example, there was this article on data protection bill that was mentioned, or maybe the much talked about the CAA and NRC was also published there. So reading the editorials of the newspapers is going to be really very helpful for you being aware about this content. The second source could be the general legal affair that's going on, probably any debate that's going on in Rajya Sabha about some privacy bill, or maybe any particular bill that has been proposed into a particular house. That could also help you to be aware about the content. And also some books would also help you to be aware about the legal content. Not just that, but it will also help you to practice to improve your reading speed and comprehensive ability. So for example, you may read People's Constitution by Rohit Day, or Britain After Peace. So these are some books probably you can just pick up and read, which will not only help you to be aware about what a passage would be consisting of, but it may also help you to improve your speed and ability. And lastly, most importantly, do not forget the 3 R's. Your no prior knowledge, no prior legal knowledge is expected. You only have to, for the now new legal reasoning section, only 3 R's are required. That is, one is reading ability, reading comprehension, and reading speed. If you focus on these 3 R's, you're good to go to not only attempt this section, but you can also ace this particular section. That's it from my end. Thank you very much. Hope this video helps you.